Hi there. Welcome to Farm Life and Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Amy Bell. I would like to personally welcome you to the initial episode of our podcast. Now, I don't do much without research. When I was doing some research on how I should lay out my episodes in my podcast, I learned that the very first episode should simply be an introduction. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, see, I'm one of those I just jump right in, and I was just going to head right into my favorite subject, which would be gardening. And I'm going to be doing that on the next episode. That's where we're going to jump in, get our hands dirty, and talk all things gardening, okay? Especially right now, trying to get off to a great start for this season. But I understand that this is the best way to go so that you can have a little bit of a better background on what this podcast is going to be about. And then also a little background on me, on as your host. Maybe you are wondering why on earth you should maybe listen to anything at all I have to say. So I thought I would at least give you a little bit of background, tell you a little bit about myself and kind of about the farm life and freedom family, the way it has come about. I will start with Farm Life and Freedom. It is a part of Two Oaks Farmstead. Anyone who follows me on any of my various channels and blogs know that that's kind of where things began. Two Oaks Farmstead is our farm. It's our home, but it's also our business, and it's kind of the farm store. And it's the one that's holding the umbrella for all of the other little things that come underneath it. And those other things that come underneath it are A Life on the Farm. That's the blog it's geared more to the personal side of the simpler life, the homesteading life with family things, relationships, parenting, homeschooling. There's a lot of cooking and canning and that kind of thing in A Life on the Farm. And then we also have Two Oaks Farm Talk. And I separated these out for a reason. You'll understand here in a sec. Two Oaks Farms Talk is more geared toward the technical aspect of this homesteading life. I put on there some of my other favorite things to do. That's the building and the gardening, like some more technical things on the gardening. And all that DIY, the projects and stuff that I do, a lot of that is, you'll find right there on Two Oaks Farm Talk, with a lot of video and that kind of thing. Then we also have Farm Raised Family. That's kind of the hub that everything sprouts out from. You can get all of the information for everything and everyone, and right there on Farm Raised Family. And then it's got all the links to everything. You can always find information there. Plus, there's a bit of a blog element to that as well. And that's where we talk more financial matters, budgeting, saving money, side hustles, all of those things that can help a family in times like we kind of currently find ourselves right now in this particular situation. So that's there. And the reason that Farm Life and Freedom came about was, I love to write, and I mean I like to do my videos and stuff too, but I really love to write, and so I started off with just putting the information out in blog form, and that works for me. And I mean, I like to write, I like to read too, but I know, and I understand this more and more recently, that a lot of people just don't have time to sit down and read. They want to hear it. So I was thinking about it, and I decided that I would go ahead and add another channel, another to-do on my list, where I put everything in an audio format, audio and video, depending on where you get it. But Farm Life and Freedom is going to be that. We are going to be talking about some very specific subjects that, around the homesteading lifestyle. We're going to be talking, but there's a big list of them, though. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that now. There's a big list of them. We're going to talk gardening, a whole lot of gardening. I sure do love to garden. And I'm here in Southern Oklahoma, and we've got a really long gardening season. And so that's really, honestly, I'm thinking about gardening from way before the beginning till way after the end. And I spend about a month sulking, and then it's time to start planning again. I don't like winter a lot. But we are going to get into that really soon. Now, along with that also comes things like livestock, raising livestock. And of course, the all of the farm building that we do here, and which I love. I will say that right now. I love to build things. You give me a hammer or a nail gun and a saw and all of that, I will just go to town. I mean, I have a pile of wood, actually multiple piles of wood, and that I like to hold on to. My husband can't stand it, but he has learned he's come around. He has learned to love my hoarding ability, okay? And I can really hoard with the best of them. But I save all that wood because I can build so many things out of it. Unless it's like termite ridden and falling apart, I'm all over it. Okay, so that's part of it too. So those are some of the things that we'll be talking about. But then we're going to go deeper than that. We're going to talk cooking and canning, lots of different food preservation. We're going to talk home butchering, which I haven't. We're going to be doing that this weekend actually here on Two Oaks Farmstead, and I promise that will be coming out on all of the various channels. We also talk a lot of things with the family. We're going to be talking parenting and relationships. We will be doing a lot with homeschooling. Now, I'm a mother of 5, and I have homeschooled like for over 2 decades now. And I truly love it. I truly, truly love homeschooling. I understand that it can't really be for everyone, depending on, time constraints or just, some people just say, I can't be around these people for that long. I get it. I do. It takes a certain mindset, I would say. I don't think it's a certain person. I think it's a certain mindset. And I think anybody can get into that mindset. It's all up to you and what you're willing to do. There's no judgment here. It does not matter to me what you decide to do. I am here for information. I'm here to help. In fact, I spend a great deal of my time over the past many years helping other families who are homeschooling or who are, considering homeschooling. I do what I can to help. I think it's a worthwhile effort, and I'm always happy to help out, give information or give resources, that kind of thing. But so we will be talking a lot about those kind of things. So that's kind of farm life and freedom in a nutshell, but it leaves out that freedom part. I want to tell you just a little bit about that. We live in America. Now, I've got a lot of followers in the UK, I've got followers in Canada, and I'm not trying to leave you guys out. You guys should strive for as much freedom as you can as well. But America, we are freedom, okay? It's trying to run away from us right now, but we're trying really hard to hold on to it. And that's so important. That is so important to our way of life, not just as a country, but for instance, as a community. Us like-minded people who are looking toward that self-sufficient life, people who are wanting to be a little bit further away from the reach of government, taking care of ourselves, relying on ourselves. That freedom is essential to us. Now, I was in the military. I don't know who all doesn't know that, but I'm retired from the Army. I was a military police officer. I absolutely loved my service. I was honored to be able to do it. I've done a couple of different wars, widespread. I was in Desert Storm a lot of years ago, and I was in Afghanistan about 10 years ago, 11, something like that. And I'm terribly proud of that service. And I think that gives me just a little bit more of an edge as far as I know exactly, I know what it takes I know what it took to win that freedom, and I know what it's going to take for us to hold on to it. I know how important that is. And I hope that I'm able to not only get that point across, but I'm hoping that I'm able to put information out there in a way that helps people who may not have the kind of time to sit around like I do on the news or listening to the news. And not that I have the time, I find a way. I'm kind of a news junkie. I'm kind of a political junkie. I will never force feed it to anyone. I'm not going to be shoving anything, my views included, down your throat. But I will be adding current events as they happen, as they apply to our lives and to our freedom. A lot of people sit around and think, well, there's people up there in the government that are, running things. Doesn't really apply to me. That stuff is, it's so far away from me that what they're doing it's not really going to reach me. A lot of times you don't realize how much of a reach that some of those decisions truly have. So we're going to be talking about those as they come up, as things happen that I know we're going to find a direct link from what they're doing to what our daily lives are going, how we're going to be affected by it. So I will throw those things in there because I want you to be informed. I think it's incredibly important for everyone to be informed. So we will be doing that a little bit, but that's as far as I'm going to go on the politics, I promise, at least on this podcast. I can get a little bit fired up, so I have to watch that, kind of monitor myself just a little bit. But I want to give you just a little bit more information about me. Maybe a reason why you might decide to have a listen. I'm a born and raised country girl. I grew up this is just a way of life for me. And I know it is for a lot of people, but you know what? I know a lot of people who had no part in this lifestyle growing up and have fallen in love with it. And oh, that thrills me. That absolutely makes me so happy. And I love to talk to those people because they truly have I don't know, it's just this bright, wide-eyed approach to it because it's not stuff that they grew up with. I was mentioning this the other day. I grew up from a very early age watching my Mimi, who my great grandmother, she was like old from the time I was born. She was always old in my mind. But that woman she ran this giant garden all by herself. She canned everything on her own. She had chickens. She would scoop them up and slice her necks and then of course we'd all freak out when they would fly off and, headless and flying around. But then she would bring them up, we'd pluck them and we'd cook them. And that was normal to me. Honestly, it was a little bit later in life when I realized that not everybody does that. And people are kind of shocked when they find out that I grew up with that. In fact, quick little funny story. A neighbor, and we live kind of out away from people. So a neighbor is down the way, but we were talking to them one day, this is a few years ago, and they were just getting chickens. And I was so thrilled for them. But I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. And I mentioned something about, when they harvest them. And she was like, wait, what? And I mean, she was just getting chickens for the eggs. And I get it. But I mean, at some point, you got to eat them. So I mentioned that, and she was like, wait, you mean like kill them? And yeah, ever so often we just like kill about 30 or so at a time and get them all ready and into the freezer, or I can them up. And she's like, people still do that? I was blown away. It always shocks me when people are shocked about this way of life. But I get it. Not everybody had the opportunity to grow up the way I did. And I'm thrilled that I can add a little bit to other people's lives that maybe don't have as much knowledge in these areas. And I'm also really thrilled when I get to talk to people who also grew up the same way, who've been doing this their entire lives, because I know that I can learn from you, and I feel like you can probably learn from me. And I want to tell you my goal for Farm Life and Freedom, okay? My absolute goal is to build up a community of like-minded people, people who are wanting either they're wanting this lifestyle, whether they are already in it, been in it for decades, or maybe just just kind of getting started. Maybe they've just kind of started a garden in the backyard and they're looking for something else. They're trying to push it a little bit further. Maybe people who haven't even attempted to come down this road, but they want information because they're really leaning that way. I'm hoping that this can be a community for all of us, that we can all join together and help each other out. I fully believe that we can learn from each other and we can all benefit from that exact thing. I really hope that I get to have you guys back and you really enjoy the information that we're going to be sharing. I'm excited about it. I truly am. Now, I will tell you, I'm a talker. I really am. I get that from my dad. My dad had the gift of gab and he passed it down. I used to do speaking. Companies would send me from, coast to coast to conferences and what have you, doing speaking and motivational and training and that kind of thing. I love to talk. And a lot of times I'll just riff on things that I really know a lot about, gardening, things that I'm really passionate about, which gardening and homesteading and all that, I'm really passionate about that stuff. So a lot of times I'll just riff on it and get off on a tangent. I I will tell you I'm going to try to make an outline for each episode so that I can kind of keep myself tied in to a specific set of informational things that I can pass on to you guys. I will try not to go off on too many tangents. But if you guys have questions, if you guys have, there are subject matter that you would like to learn more about, things that you would like to hear me talk about, let me know. You can absolutely, I will be putting all of the contact information on this post, and you guys jump in there, contact me, comment, talk to me. I am always willing to hear you, and I'm always willing to respond and see what I can do. If I don't have the information, I guarantee you I'll find it. Okay. So I really look forward to this. I can tell you that my next episode, episode number 2, is going to be all on getting off to a great start in your garden. Okay, we are at that time of year right now when everyone's jumping in there and getting things going. And just like me, I am so excited. And I'm really excited to be able to share that with you and cannot wait until episode number 2. You guys come back to Farm Life and Freedom and help me cultivate a free life.